Hello and welcome to my channel. This video is for the owners of the Sequre S99 soldering irons. I reviewed this iron recently here on the channel, and while I was looking for the firmware update, I found that Sequre have issued a bulletin for this very iron. According to what I found on the website, all the S99 featuring PCBs version 1.3 or 1.4 will need an extra component to avoid damage, so Sequre are strongly recommending this modification. Now, I'm not affiliated with Sequre, so I don't really know exactly what the problem is, but I happen to have a 1.4 PCB, and rather than making my review video longer than it is already, I decided to make a shorter video just to address this problem on camera. Also, according to the website, Sequre are offering a free soldering tip to all the users affected by this problem. So take a look at sequremall.com and see what you can do to claim your free soldering tip if you have an affected soldering iron. Now, this is not going to be very easy for a couple of reasons. First of all, these are the capacitors that we are going to install, and as you can see, they're very small. So that means that you need probably some fine tweezers, a magnifying lens, or maybe a microscope, quite good eyesight, I would say. But most importantly, you need another soldering iron with a pretty small tip. So don't shoot the messenger, get in touch with Sequre if you don't feel like doing this. I have no idea whether they would be able to help you in a different way. All I'm going to do, I'm going to update my soldering iron. Hopefully this can be helpful for you. For this task, the capacitor that you need to install is going to be a 1 microfarad at 25 volts, and it has to be either a 0603 package or a 0402. Now, I've got here the 0402, they're a bit smaller, so you might want to go with the bigger one if you don't happen to have a microscope. When it comes to capacitors, it's totally fine to have a higher voltage, so you can go with the 50 volts or 100 volts if you can't find the 25, but you can't really go below the 25 volts, which is recommended. And when it comes to the capacitance, I don't know what's the role of this capacitor in the circuit, so you'll have to stick to the 1 microfarad one. The first thing to do is to open the soldering iron, so let me remove the tip first. And then we have two screws, one here at the top, let's call it that way, and one at the bottom. Bear in mind that the screw at the bottom is shorter than the one at the top. There is another little screw here that holds the PCB in place. Now, I don't think this is necessary. I feel that we don't need to remove the bottom shell, so I will leave the PCB in place and we'll see how it goes. Now, the website is not entirely clear, so I'm hoping I'm doing the right thing, but I believe we need to piggyback a small capacitor in between these two components here. You'll see that in a moment under the microscope. As you can see, it's a pretty tiny space, and now you have a better idea how small these components are. To solder this component, we are not going to use hot air. I don't think it's the right tool for this task. We're going to use another soldering iron with a very small tip. Now let's move under the microscope and I'll show you what I'd like to do. Now, first of all, bear in mind, I'm not Louis Rossmann, so working with SMD, is not my thing, but, I'm getting there. I have placed the soldering iron on some blue tack, so at least it doesn't roll around, or again, you can try and remove the PCB if you feel better doing that, and I've got my smaller tweezers here. So the components in questions are these two, 1 and 2, and we need to piggyback the capacitor in between these two ends here. I'm going to use these soldering tip. I have a smaller one, but again, following what Louis Rossmann says, you always want to use the biggest tip possible for the task because it has more thermal mass, so it makes things a bit easier. The first thing I like to try is to add a tiny little bit of solder onto these two ends. One of the reasons is that that's probably lead-free solder, so I'd like to have leaded solder instead. Unfortunately, the only solder wire I have is 0.7 millimeters, so that will do. I'm leaving most of the footage here unedited, so you can see it's not a straightforward process. Well, at least not for me. But everything went well. When I tried to bridge the capacitor to the component on the right, I realized that there was not enough solder in place, so I had to add some fresh one. I thought it would make a big blob, but it went pretty well. I do need to buy some thinner solder wire though. Once the process is complete, don't forget to give the area a good clean with isopropyl alcohol, being extra careful as those components are tiny. Before powering on the soldering iron, I'm going to check with my multimeter that there's no short between the 2 points where I soldered the component. And I'm reading 32 kilo ohms, so the operation was successful. Well, the process is complete. Let's see if it works. Let's try without the tip first. Still powering up, which is a good sign. And yes, it seems to be happy. So let's plug the tip here. The iron is still working. I guess you're not going to see any difference between before and after. It's just a matter of reliability over time. I guess this is it for this video. I hope it really helps the owners of the S99. I completely appreciate that not everybody is going to be apt to this task. I've been tinkering with SMD for a while. I have some very fine tweezers, and most importantly, I do have a microscope. Without the microscope, without the fine tweezers, I appreciate it's going to be complicated. So don't shoot the messenger. I just wanted to show what the procedure is, and if you have any questions, I'm not affiliated to Sequre, so get in touch with Sequre and hopefully they can help you resolving this problem. If you like this video, as usual, I appreciate a thumb up down below, and also I'm on Twitter and on Patreon. If you feel like supporting my work, you can join for free, so you have no excuses. Again, thanks for watching. I wish you a great day, and I hope to see you again here soon on this channel for my next videos. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Bye-bye.